plot the murder of Orlando Pirates and Bafana goalkeeper Senzo Meyiwa. Lead investigator Brigadier Bongani Gininda confirmed this during cross-examination in the Pretoria High Court on Tuesday. Defense attorney Zithulele Nxumalo pressed Gininda about the investigation and questioned the evidence behind the arrest of the 5 accused men. Gininda stated there is no witness who heard the murder being planned, but said a witness saw the suspects at a Vosloorus hostel before and after Meyiwa's killing. Nxumalo also accused about evidence of other intruders. Gininda denied any such claims, but noted that witness accounts for individuals near the scene. Proceedings ended early due to the interpreter's unavailability. And now to discuss this, we're joined by Mr. Elton Romeo Hart, attorney with University of Johannesburg's Law Clinic, Faculty of Law. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and good afternoon to the viewers up in the West.
Good afternoon to you too. Thanks for joining us from the South. Now, I'd like to start by asking, what legal standards must the prosecution meet to actually prove that the accused plotted Senzo Meyiwa's murder, given the absence of direct evidence or direct witnessing of the planning?
Now, obviously, the onus of proof in South Africa, and I think it's the same in Nigeria, is beyond reasonable doubt. So they must go beyond reasonable doubt. And what we can see from from Brigadier Gininda's evidence, it's like circumstantial evidence and some amounts to hearsay evidence, because he has not seen it. He had secondary information, and specifically the person in your introduction, you spoke about the person that allegedly saw them before Senzo Meyiwa's killing and after, which is Constable Zungu. And he himself, Constable Zungu, he only saw these guys in that vicinity. So one asks ourselves is like, is it a crime to be in the vicinity? And a lot of the things that Brigadier Gininda is currently on the stage is like, yes, the evidence. And what is worrying to me is that when it suits him, he acts like he's an expert on cell phone data and the analysis of some of the cell phone information. But when the defense under cross-examination is asking him about it, then he runs to say, I'm not an expert. The other person will come and clarify. And there was a lot of issues where some of the police officers that testified said, Brigadier Gininda will come and clarify, but he can't clarify. So for me, I think that the state here, Gininda's evidence, it's very, very weak, and the defense should actually tackle and rip it apart, because for me, this can lead to a conviction for the accused persons.
Okay, Mr. Hart, how exactly does circumstantial evidence like witness statements about the accused movements and other things like utterances impact the strength of this case?
Obviously, they have to use now circumstantial evidence, because as you rightly said, there's no direct evidence that actually places them on the murder scene on the night, and actually that they were found like someone is caught red-handed. So it's now they have to use circumstances to say, okay, there was a person that saw you on the night with guns directly before and directly after Senzo Meyiwa was killed. You were close proximity. And they need to now say, place circumstantial evidence to say that the chances of you committing this offense is great because you were in the same vicinity. Then they have to look at now Zandi Kumalo and Tumelo Madlala, who said they identified and they could identify accused number 2, saying that he had a gold tooth. But on their own evidence then, that when the person was taken to the dentist said he didn't have a gold tooth. So it means that their identification of accused number 2 is in question. So then they need to now just use circumstantial evidence, because even their direct evidence cannot directly place them on the crime scene. So they need to now use like the cell phone data, this Constable Zungu that saw them at the Vosloorus hostel, because they don't have things. And then also the gun that was found in possession of, allegedly found in possession of accused number 3, that the bullet was found on the crime scene. They have to now use those circumstances and try and draw a link, and then use the cell phone records and link these 5 to say they plotted and planned together. Accused number 5 having the photo of the money on that comes from Kelly Kumalo's phone. So they have to use all these circumstantial evidence to try and get a conviction. And eventually I think that then they might probably go after Kelly Kumalo for being the mastermind planning the murder. But for me, I don't think the state has done enough. But obviously, looking at the proceedings, I can see already it looks like the judge will find these guys guilty.
All right, Mr. Hart, let's still stay on the corroboration between the neighbor statement, Makaleni and Ntabinseng. What role does that play in establishing the presence and the actions of the accused outside of the crime scene?
No, the neighbor that said, I think he saw one person standing outside the house, but I still think that because they use dog identification in this thing, that neighbor never went to an ID parade to actually point these guys out on an ID parade. So for me, dog identification, I place little to no weight on it, because it's the only 5 person. If they say, who's the person, you know there's 5 accused, so I'm going to point somebody. But him seeing somebody can sort of half place weight. But my question is then, there's other evidence that one needs to now look at. Kelly Khumalo phoning Chico Twala. Longwe Twala escaped from the house. He doesn't phone the police. There's a lot of things, and the crime scene, there was tampering with the crime scene. So there's a lot of things, and we shouldn't just like sort of half think now what Gininda is saying is the alpha and the omega, because he is just the investigating officer, and a lot of the information that he got is second or third hand information. It's not information that he was present. So they should probe him more on that. For me, it can help, but it's not the overarching thing that Makaleni actually saw them outside, or one of the accused outside the house, because they need to sort of bring it together. Even if I was like outside the gate, it doesn't mean that I killed the person or I was involved in actually killing that person, but it's circumstantial evidence that can be used to say, maybe you were at the crime scene, so you should know something. And that is what the state is trying to build here.
All right, Mr. Elton Romeo Hart, attorney with University of Johannesburg Law Clinic, Faculty of Law. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Johannesburg to discuss this. And definitely we're going to look to see how this turns out.